Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, Top 14, Pro League National, French national team, Champions Cup, Challenge Cups, most importantly of all, the brilliant towns, cities, bars, restaurants, food, cuisine, fans, stadiums, atmosphere, everything that makes the French rugby experience so fantastic. I'm joined as ever, or am I? I'm not. Rob is, for the first time since we've been doing this podcast, Series 2, Episode 43, for the first time, Rob has taken a couple of well-earned days off. He is, I think, the Pro League final, Montauban's stunning win over Grenoble got the better of him somewhat. So he's now proudly parading his Montauban sweatshirt in 31 degrees somewhere on a lovely beach in Mallorca. Not to leave you hanging, as ever, we've got something special lined up. And I was delighted earlier today to be joined by one of the signings that's gone across the channel in the last couple of seasons that's maybe snuck under the radar a little bit, but has had a huge impact in a team that has just qualified for a home barrage final. I was absolutely thrilled to be joined earlier by formerly Northampton Saints and now Bayonne second row, Alex Moon. Enjoy. Rob may be away sunning himself on a beach somewhere in Mallorca, but we've got a little bit of an upgrade this week. Very lucky to be joined by a man who's going to be a big part, hopefully, of Bayonne's march towards a top 14 semi-final taking place next weekend. Barrage game to come against Clermont-Auvergne. Delighted to be joined by Alex Moon. Alex, welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast. How are you?
I am doing very well, cheers. And yourself?
Yeah, all good my end. We were just talking about it very briefly before, but it sounds like it's been a busy day. What does a Tuesday look like for somebody who's got a pretty punchy game coming up on Friday night?
So we had a pretty physical game on Saturday night against Toulon, which was basically like a round of 16 game pretty much for us. So it was like a win and we're in situation, really. So yesterday we didn't do a whole lot. And because of a Friday night game, we can't really do a whole lot at the back end of the week. So today was a bit more full on. Just trying to install stuff, try and run it at some sort of game pace. Probably about the one day of the week that we can get a proper lift in as well. So that got thrown in there and meetings as well. So it was a bit of a full-on day, really. Yeah,
nice. And sort of all in absolutely roasting heat by the sounds of things as well, just to spice it up.
Yeah. I know tomorrow it gets up to 33 or 34 here. I think it's currently late 20s, which from someone whose family are all from Manchester, I don't do great with the heat. But I'm getting better.
Nice. And how is the sort of, the mood currently at Bayonne? It's been a pretty, to date, it might not seem like it counts for much if things don't go to plan on Friday, but from afar, it's been an incredibly impressive season. I think you finished, obviously you weren't there, but finished 12th last year. Yeah. What's What's the mood? It must be an exciting time. This first Barrage game in, well, I imagine a very long time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it is. And man, I remember watching the games at the back end of the year, and the boys were flirting in and around with 13th, 14th. It's like, oh no, they're going to have a knockout game, or what if they get relegated? Like, just coming from Northampton, and at the time when this was all going on, we just played in like a European semi, and we were top of the table in the Prem. And I'm like, I might be playing Pro D2 rugby next year, which I look forward to playing at some point in my career, but my plan wasn't to be playing it quite so early on in my career. And yeah, but now I think at the beginning of the year, I found that like the presidents are big characters over here, and we've got a real good president of the club, and he came in and chatted with us and set the goalposts out early in the season. And I think the plan was to be like, right, build on last year, get top 8, get out of our group at Europe, and host a couple of home playoff games, hopefully in Europe. And then sort of around like November time, we were sort of pushing towards top 6. So it was like, all right, okay, we could push for playoffs here, try and get top 6, a barrage. And then 2 months later after that, it was like, okay, now we're in 4th. We've been in 4th for a couple of weeks here. Well, goalpost moved again. It's like, well, actually, let's try and push on here. Let's try and finish in 4th. And so we've been in 4th, I think, since like January or February. And it's just been a matter of holding on. I think we've been pretty classically French. And you look at the win and loss column, and it's literally win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And I don't think it's convenient to work out where those wins are and where those losses are. But the thing is, like, we have picked up points along the way in those away losses, which has made a massive difference. And that's been, I think, the difference compared to the teams around us. And that's what, because we're actually in similar number of wins as a lot of the teams below us. But we picked up points away, which has been massive.
Yeah, amazing. And have speaking, obviously you weren't there last year, but having speaking with some of the guys around the squad who've been there a little while, is there anything that you've kind of pinpointed this year that's like you think has made that big difference? Because we looked at the start of the year, and obviously yourself, and there are a couple of other signings that, with the exception of Manu, were like they look like quite shrewd signings. Obviously, Tuolangi was the big name, and it's a squad Bayonne we always look at, and whether it's, I don't know, like a Arthur Aturia or Tiberian at fullback, we always feel like some of these guys maybe don't get the plaudits they deserve. How is there anything that's changed, or is it just things have clicked a little bit more from what you can gather?
I think like they've recruited really well in terms of getting guys back here who are from here, and so winning for these guys, and it's like their hope. So like Shuzanu's another one who came from Racing, he's a funny one because he's like over 2 meters tall, and at one point he was ill this season and he was sub 100 kilos, but mate, he flies around. Like, he makes more tackles than most in a game. He'll hit more breakdowns than most, and he's an incredible line-out operator. But he was in the academy, and him and Arthur Aturia were in Bayonne's academy, I believe, or they play club rugby, and they're from here. And so it's like getting those guys back to their home club, I think, was a real big driver. So it was the same with like Cammy. Cammy's from the area, I believe. And so it's like bringing Cammy back and bringing Arthur back. And that's been a big driver of their recruitment. But yeah, also someone like a Habel Kufner as well, the number 8 for us. I think he's like our most minuted player. He played like 8 years in Po, 2 years in Stade, and then we managed to pick him up and get him down here. And I look like he's one of my best mates here, and he's got a family, and they absolutely adore it here. Because when he was in Po, only an hour away, they used to come here and spend weekends and whatnot. So yeah, I think there's a lot, like you said, like not a lot of household names necessarily, or they might have been 2-3 years ago, some of the guys, but everyone cares about playing for the team, which is huge. And I think boys have got like an emotional connection to the team, which really pays off for us.
How does that sort of work for you then, coming in as an Englishman into a club with such a arguably the sort of one of the most famous, like, proud identities in kind of club sport in the Basque country? yeah, how do you find your way into that? And is it inspiring, intimidating? Is it easy to kind of get stuck into?
Yeah. As someone who I didn't do it whole, I was sort of like I absolutely loved economics and geography at school. So like the geography side of it, I find really interesting, and I'm trying to read up more on the history stuff, and I'm really trying to push my history at the minute. But so getting to learn all of that stuff down here, like I've found it like really interesting, and just trying to ask guys who are from here what it was like growing up here, or like who speaks the languages, what's the food like, what's the culture like, the history of the whole place. Um, yeah, I've loved trying to learn it, but I'm quite like an inquisitive person anyway. So for me, it's been pretty awesome. But it's because like with the Basque identity, like they had to go away for it from a bit, but now around here they're allowed to through more and whatnot. They're allowed to now like start really like leaning into it in schools and teach it again in schools. And so like some of the boys do speak Basque. There's not loads, but some of the boys do speak it. And it helps that like the food's freaking incredible as well. So that's always it is wild. I was looking through your guys' Instagram. I saw you went down to San Sebastian as well, and I mean like the food down there as well is freaking incredible. Yeah, they've been really like reciprocative of myself. Like Manu's another big character. Like Gio's a pretty big character. Like these, it's like English speaking guys coming in, they've just been really welcoming of us.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, unfortunately I did miss out on the San Sebastian trip. Rob was there for the polo game, but went once before. We went to watch Exeter at Bayonne a couple of years ago and went down to San Sebastian, and it's wild. What a place.
But I think it's like there's more Michelin stars per capita in San Sebastian or the area than there are in any other town or city, at least in Europe, I believe. And then you've got all the Pintos stuff as well, and it's just like the whole food scene down there is freaking incredible. So like myself and my partner Beth, like we go down there at least once a month to go down there and eat, because like you can eat in 3 or 4 different places every single time and it'd be completely different. It's awesome.
Yeah, a pretty good place for you. You mentioned Baptiste Chesney was a bit underweight at points. Probably not the worst place to have to bulk yourself back up, like some of those duck breast pinchos and things like that.
Mate, there's all sorts, and it's like I think we don't really have that whole lot in the UK where they kind of use everything on the animal here. So Beth, who grew up sort of in Oxfordshire in the Cotswolds way, and she hasn't had a lot of experience with eating different parts of different animals and different fish, and we're really trying to like broaden her culinary horizon. Has been a mission since we got here.
Are you a bit more freewheeling on that? Happy to
I'll eat anything.
Heart here and
right, yeah. She used to find it. I used to actually go to the butchers in Sainsbury's when I used to get hearts from the butchers in Sainsbury's back in Northampton. That was I must have been like the only person, but yeah, man. For me, I'll happily eat anything. I'm like, literally like a dog. I'll just eat whatever's put in front of me. Honestly.
Amazing. Well, we might come back to that at the end for a few recommendations. So we'll kind of maybe like wind it back a little bit. You're in your first season at Bayonne, having, as you say, come over from a pretty phenomenal season with Northampton. You're finishing one there. Maybe slightly loaded question, because you maybe let me in on this a little bit earlier when we were messaging. But was Bayonne always on the cards, or France in the kind of in the front view, or was it something that came about quite late?
Yeah, so sort of from like November, December 23, I want to say, we started like contract negotiations with Northampton. We're looking at potentially doing like a 2-year deal with Northampton, as you'd have seen like when I think like Freeman re-signed and Furbank and Mitchell, everyone re-signed all these like 2-year deals, and I was going to be a part of that. But I was like, right, okay, well, let's do our due diligence and go and have a look around. And there's a couple of more places in the UK. that we had a look at, and it was all kind of a little bit similar in terms of like contract wise. And it was like, well, I don't really want to pick up and move away from everything if it's going to be the same. And then thought about France, and with Beth working, sort of put out like a couple of ideas to her, and she was like, oh, okay, well, Paris works perfectly for me for work, and it's only 2 hours on the train, and that's it for France for me. Like, Paris is the only place I can work, really. So I was like, right, okay. Ask those two. No, nothing. Right, okay. Well, looks like we're staying in Northampton. And then we played Bayonne in the Champions Cup game on a Friday night, sort of at the back end of January. And on the following Wednesday, I wake up to a text message from a mate of mine, and he says, put your agent in touch with Bayonne, because I've heard from my agent that they're quite keen for you. And that afternoon, I had a meeting with Jared Fraser, who's our head coach, and Gregory Patat, our DOR. I had a meeting with those guys. And on the Thursday, there was an offer on the table already. And literally within like 24 hours of me posting the message to them, it's like, oh, yeah, well, basically, we love what you did in the games leading up to us playing you when we previewed your game. And then we actually watched you play in front of us, and we really liked you. And here's the offer. Take it or leave it. And I was like, okay, yeah, it looks like I might be taking that there. But then we played Munster. We played Munster away that weekend. And Fred was like, Thomond Park's one of the best stadiums on the planet to play in anyway. It's freaking awesome. And so I'm like super excited to go for that. But I was in the room, and Sam Graham, the back rower at Northampton, he and I always used to room together. And he was the only person at the time that knew this was going on, bar my mate that I can't name. And I was literally on the hotel notepad, like trying to make sense of offers and deals and trying to like compare the two. And I was literally on like a little hotel notepad and pen, like making sense of all these numbers and stuff. I was like, I'm playing Munster at Thomond Park literally in like 3 hours, and I'm still trying to like figure out this contract negotiation. How's it become like this, mad? But got through the game, got through the weekend, and like I said, ended up being like, right, okay, I'm happy. I'm at peace with moving on. And then, fortunately for me, the end of the season turned out the way it did. So it couldn't have gone more perfectly, really.
Yeah, amazing. How did the conversation then go with your partner when it was France sorted? But I don't think you can get a train from Bayonne to London in 2 hours.
No, I was really fortunate that so Francois Van Wyck, which is it's been the loose head, like the number 17 for Bath for basically all of this season. So his brother-in-law actually played for Biarritz, a guy called Joe Tamani, who played rugby league for Australia, played a bit of rugby union, and he's been around for a few clubs, played at Leinster. But yeah, he played here for a couple of years. And Beth's really close with Francois' wife, and she was saying, look, I used to go out and see Joe and Anastasia all the time. Biarritz is freaking awesome, and I know Bayonne's right next to it. You're going to love it. Okay, work-wise, Beth had to move, sort of go down a different avenue. Well, still in the same sort of field, but go down a different avenue. And actually, she's in Provence, like as we speak. She jumped on a train this morning to go over to Provence. She's working a wedding over there. She's got to go back out there again next week as well. So she's been able to overcome the adversity that I've put in front of her. She's lived in the same village her entire life, and I just went, right, do you fancy coming to the southwest of France with me, please? And yeah, she's made it work. So it's going really well.
Yeah, so it sounds from everything you said that you've embraced it, loving it. It's been fairly smooth, because it's been some fairly like publicized cases where that hasn't been what's happened with English players, South African players, whatever. And do you feel that's kind of testament to the area you're living in, the club, all of that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. We're really lucky. Our DOR Greg, I say this out of endearment for the French, he is a very level-headed Frenchman. He doesn't blow up. He doesn't make any like erratic decisions ever. Like, he's super level-headed, and that's very much like the English way of a lot of our DOR as well. Like, Douse was like could be emotional when I think he was. Yeah, it could be emotional sometimes, but he did a pretty good job of like reining it in and when to expose us to it, and I think Greg's like really, really similar, and I think that makes a massive difference. Our head coach Jared is a Kiwi, and he's really, really good. He puts too much on his plate, I tell him, but he's really good. And we've got Nick Benjamin as well, who's another one of our like top coaches as well. So I've been fortunate enough to like come into an environment where it's not completely French, but then all the English guys there do speak French, so it's not like a big segregation thing. So it's only really me and Manu who are the only English speakers that don't speak a whole lot of French there. Because even like we've got Reece Hodge here, and I remember before I came over here, Reece was doing interviews in like fluent French after games. He picked it up like immediately. I said the Habel Kuffners and the other guy that we hang around with all the time, like he's fluent in French. So it's only really me and Manu, and we are having lessons weekly. And our partners have lessons together as well every week. So we're trying.
Nice. Getting there. Slowly but surely it'll be the fluent interviews, I'm sure.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, I studied French from like 4 till 16 at school. And then it's like, you don't use it for 10 years, and I've completely lost everything. And it's so frustrating because I cover stuff with my teacher. And I'm like, I studied that when I was like 7. How do I not remember this? Like, it's so infuriating, but we're getting there. I think because like that, some of that background, I'm picking up a little bit quicker than some, but not others.
I always say we had over as much as we can to try and see different things, and I always say my peak French speaking was probably school trip in year 9. If I could do that now, I'd be not sorted, but sorted enough.
Where does it go? Like, where does it go? So I don't think I've learned anything in the last 10 years that's more important than an entire language, and yet somehow, I mean, I've got a lot of useless like history facts and geography knowledge that I've picked up from various places that I don't really need to know, but that's somehow pushed out all the French from out my brain, and now it's like just trying to claw back like what space I've got left to learn stuff. Yeah, heck, never mind.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll get there, I'm sure. I don't want to sort of look backwards too much. Just a final word. You're obviously at Northampton for a long time. A load of, I know, slightly odd season their side with a few injuries and doing so amazingly in Europe, but struggling a bit in the Prem. But there are some of the, suddenly there's an England squad where the Northampton presence is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Is that something, I think sometimes we can be, because there's been so many players move over to France in the last couple of seasons, we can be quite binary around whether it's, a choice between playing for England or playing abroad and what have you. And everything you say about the lifestyle, it's a bit more complex than that, and experiencing new things. But if I've got this wrong, apologies, but I don't think you're ever capped by England, but in a few squads, right?
Yeah.
That the speed at which that, your sort of move to, well, not the move, but like the contract and then signing took place, it must be in the back of the mind one way or other, or do you just sort of see it?
It was massive, and actually that's like the one point that my CEO said. So CEO, or the ex-CEO of Northampton, Mark Darwin, who was he was an incredible businessman and incredible CEO for that club. Hence they were, because like Northampton's like one of the only self-sufficient clubs that's even close to either making a profit or actually making a profit in the league. And I remember chatting to him, and he said the minute that the Six Nations squad got announced, it was like, I knew you were 50-50 up until that point, and the minute I saw that squad get announced, you weren't named in. I was like, I knew you were probably going to head to France at that point. And it's just for me, because I felt like I was playing really, really good rugby for at least like 2.5 years at the back end there. So like the season before, when we ended up losing to Sarries in the semi-final. And that season, I played a ton. I think I was like the most minuted player in the Prem, or I played in the most games in the Prem, led the Prem in tackles. So I was like, must be doing something pretty good here. But I heard nothing that season. And then again, like the next year, like I had like, a real good season, helped Northampton get to where they were, and then again heard nothing whatsoever. So at that point, I was like, well, if I'm not doing it off the back of 2 very, very good seasons, I just so happened to be around at the same time that Marrow's around playing, and I know we're not exactly the same position, but he's pretty freaking incredible. And the time I went into Six Nations camp, I was there with a young Marrow, a George Cruz who'd just come off the back of calling through the World Cup, Joe Launchbury in his prime, and a young Charlie Alls who was like already like calling and captaining Bath at that point. So I was coming in as like the 5th second row when I went into camp. And I probably went in with it with the wrong mindset when I was young. I mean, I was 21, 22. But in my head, I was like, good learning experience, might get a chance to play against Italy at the end of it all. That's like my aim, instead of being like, right, I'm just going to try and like compete as hard as I possibly can. And I don't know if that was the right or wrong mindset at the time. But yeah, since then I felt like I played pretty well, but didn't really get a look in for anything. So like I said, like the CEO said, as soon as that Six Nations squad came out and I've been playing real well for Northampton, it's like, I think that kind of answers it for me. And that's the reason why I only signed a 2-year deal here. Yeah. I'm still the right side of 30 when it comes to contract negotiation time again. But I really don't have a clue at this point because it's gone so well over here. But I think in my head, I was like, probably go there for 2 years, probably going to really enjoy it, but not quite know how much I was going to enjoy it being over here. And then I was going to come back, hopefully go back and play for Northampton and then play for England. And then in my head, that was how I mapped out the next like 3-4 years. But I said, like, the more I play over here, the more I love playing over here and love living here. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, exciting. Either which way you look at it. Good avenues to have ahead of you. And on your sort of your game itself, one of the things we always, well, maybe a little bit of a cliche, but we've noticed in the top 14 in particular, like the big abrasive, like tight headlock it's been like really at the fore in the last couple of seasons with, I mean, obviously like Mayafu and Skelton are the real sort of outliers, but Alpha Fanuas, like Alan Louises, like all these sort of guys. Like, I mean, you know, obviously a fairly big physical bloke yourself. But like, is there coming into the team? Is there like when you join Bayonne, like an expectation that you would play in a certain way in that kind of 5 jersey, or you know, do you just sort of you fit into a system that's already there?
Yeah. The difference that those guys have on me is they've all got at least 20 kilos on me. And I think that was kind of like my point. Like, I'm a Prem 5, I'd say. I think that's the best way. There's no big 130, 140 guy playing in the Prem. I think Bath had the guy from Montpellier, but he only played 1 season there and he got injured, unfortunately for him. So the long-haired South African guy that came in, and he was like the only real 5. I mean, I know Sarries had Skelton for 2 years, and Skelton was freaking incredible when he was at Sarries. Yeah. But yeah, those like big 5s that don't really exist in the Prem. But a lot of the 5s in the Prem are sort of around that like 120-ish sort of range, because a lot of the 4s are like 110 to 115, so they are a little bit lighter. And I fit into that mould real well. Now, coming over here, I mean, I chatted with Dave Ribbons, and I don't want to out him too much, but he told me he was 130 kilos when I went and chatted with him after the game. He's a line-out calling second row in France at 130 kilos. He'd be the heaviest second row in the Prem, I reckon. That's the difference. And you find yourself, it's like, because the ball's not in play for anywhere near as much. I remember doing a preview of a game, and I think it was a Clermont game. Was it Clermont La Rochelle? And the ball was in play for like 25 minutes in the game, or 27 minutes. So in Northampton, we'd aim for over 45 minutes, but like 40 to 45 minutes is like targeted ball in play times. It's like the spectators are watching nearly double the amount of rugby in a Northampton game. But it's because like it's slow, really fast and physical, and then you've got a long break again, and so these bigger bodies can exist over here, and then you kind of need it for the collisions that are over here. I think I can't do I'm not as skillful as Miafu, and I'm not as an abrasive runner, let's say, as Skelton. I think those guys are a bit are better in attack. But like my USP for my size is I move really, really well, and I can be a second or third line out option. I can jump in the line out, and I do get through a lot of work. Like I get through a lot of tackling, I get through a lot of carrying, I get through a lot of rucking, and I can play 80 minutes. I think I've played like 5 or 6 straight 80 minutes at this point. I think that's my USP. Is I've got a bit of an engine for a number 5, a bit more dynamic. But I know I lose out on some of the more impact, like particularly on the ball carrying side of it. I miss out a little bit on that. But for me, I can't go and play at 140, 150. I'm not naturally that big of a guy. And I think that's the big thing. Is like some of those boys have been that size since they were like 14, 15, 16. And like I haven't been. And like for me to get there, it just doesn't work. So, I mean, I'm pretty happy with this playing weight. I think the club are happy with how I play the position. And it gives them some flexibility because I have played 4 in a couple of games this year as well. Admittedly, I still scrum on the right-hand side and play the exact same way. I just wear a different shirt number. But, I think they're pretty happy with how I fit into that.
Well, certainly from where we sit, it looks like it's working out pretty all right for you. So I don't think you need to be spending any, sort of twice weekly down to San Sebastian to get it on. Yeah, no.
I also heard from one of the players, apparently Brandy from a large second row for a Parisian team. Apparently, Brandy and Bryce are the method to getting up to a big weight. I've heard.
I can see how that might work. Yeah. Just a quick one before we maybe touch briefly on the game this weekend. You mentioned you've got a couple of old schoolmates playing out in France currently as well, which is so you mentioned, I think, Johnny McPhillips, who we had on a couple of weeks ago after his exploits getting Carcassonne International, and Lewis Ludlam. You were at school with both of those guys. So how it must be quite nice having a few familiar faces in the. Well, at least
the weird one for me was Lewis and I played club rugby. Admit he was always a year older, but club rugby at Ipswich Rugby Club. So from like 11, 12, we were both there. And then at St Joe's, I played up a year for a bit. So when I was in like year 6 or year 7, I was playing like year 8 and year 9. Yeah. So I played with him, and he was my captain from like being 13 years old, 14 years old. So I played with him, and I left and went up to Stade Jean Dauger, where I then went and joined Johnny. But then I was always in Northampton's academy with him the whole time, and I've been with him I've got you can go through my Instagram and you see I've been on like 3-4 holidays with the guy, like all over the place. And so to actually play against him for the first time in about the 18 years that I've known him, bizarre. But like you said, like really nice seeing a familiar face there. And then Johnny, I'm actually going to go over and see Johnny in summer because that's it. Johnny was probably one of my best mates at Sedbergh. So I'm really annoyed I've not actually been able to go see him yet. But that's this summer. Nice.
I've been I've spent a little bit of time at Ipswich Rugby Club over the years. A few mates have played there, and good spot. So I hadn't realised you played together there. That's pretty not bad going.
No, that's it. We played together for like 10, no, way longer than 10 years. Played together since we were 12 to 27, 15 years, and then finally played against each other for the first time. Bizarre. I've trained against him. He's a right pain in the backside to train against. He's a right pain in the backside to play against as well, to be fair to him. He played very well. So,
Class, I can imagine. Looking ahead to Friday then. Stade Jean Dauger against Clermont. You mentioned that, pretty hard prep today, but generally feeling all right about going in. I'd imagine it's going to be absolutely crackling down there, isn't it?
Yeah. On the weekend, the Toulon game, bear in mind it had the feeling of a playoff game, but it wasn't at the time, and the atmosphere was incredible. And it's incredible, it can literally be a mid-season game, and middle of the day, no one's really been on the drink at all at any point, and there's nothing going on, and it's still an incredible atmosphere. But you stick it on a Friday night, everyone's going to be off work from probably lunchtime, or we're in France, it's probably a bank holiday as well that day, as this last month's been, I feel like there's been a bank holiday every week so far for the last month. Yeah, it's going to be freaking incredible. Now, they're a big physical team, and so we've just played a big physical team, and we got pumped by them at their place, right at the very beginning of the season. So we know what can go wrong when we don't really match them physically, because they did run all over us, to be honest, for 80 minutes. So yeah, we sort of know where we stand with them, and so it's about just get the body fresh and installing that game plan and just get ready for it, because it's going to be physical on Friday night, because they are a good team with some momentum now at the back end of the season.
Yeah, well, from afar, can't wait to watch it. Before we let you go, we always try and, when we get guests on, ask. You mentioned you're into your food and stuff, so we try and get a few little recommendations from the local area. So if and when hopefully we're back visiting Bayonne or around there, where would you stick on the card for us to be getting stuck in?
So, mate, we've got a steak place in Barrages. It's only small. There's the bigger one in Bayonne. Now, we have been to the Big Brother. Not quite as good. The Little Brother in Barrages here, and it's called Haragia. And I can send you the message later on. There, Côte de Boeuf, and it's like €55 for a kilo of Côte de Boeuf, chips, salad, and everything, all in. It's nuts. Value's incredible. The food's incredible. I've eaten there 10 times, and he's never missed a cook on that steak once. Same two guys in there every time. Same two blokes. Every single person who comes here hears about this place, and we go there every time. Two guys. It's 16 covers in the whole place, and they only do one turn of every table per night. But it's awesome. And the other place I do Sherry BB, which is more of a Basque fresh, rotating menu sort of thing. That's also in Barrages, because I live in Barrages, so I'm pretty hopeless on Bayonne recommendations, in all honesty.
Fair enough.
But there are two go to whenever we do a birthday meal. We'll go to Sherry BB. Anniversary meal, Sherry BB. That's also very good up there.
Fantastic. Well, add them to the list. It sounds phenomenal. Right. Alex, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Could have spoken for ages, but we'll let you go. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your week to come and have a chat. And very best of luck for Friday. It's incredibly exciting.
Thank you very much. I also haven't told my old man that I've been doing this. My old man listens religiously to your podcast. I haven't told him that I'm on. So I'm very excited to get the message if and when this inevitably goes up. I'm very excited to get some sort of hate message probably from him for not telling him. But yeah.
Oh, perfect. Well, shout out to, is it John? Your old man?
It is John. Yeah.
Seen him pop up on the socials from time to time. So, John, thank you for listening. Appreciate it, Alex. It's been great. Pleasure. And again, good luck for Friday.
Thank you very much. Bye, mate.
A huge thank you again to Alex Moon for taking the time to catch up earlier. What sounds like an amazing time to be involved in an incredible club with such an amazing rugby culture, rich culture more broadly, and some fabulous food. So what could possibly go wrong? Obviously, coming up, we also have Toulon cast at the weekend, the second of the Barrage games, and then perhaps most eye-catchingly of all, Grenoble after their shock defeat to Montauban at the weekend. They'll be taking on Perpignan in the access match. It will no doubt be a raucous and totally packed out the Stade des Alpes. It should be an absolute beauty. We really are at the business end of the season now, and it's incredibly exciting. We should be back later in the week, back up to a full contingent with Rob, who will no doubt will be bronze, refreshed, and ready and raring to go through all things top 14 access match and a few petit-fours and other bits and bobs to keep you all interested. Please do get in touch, rosbiffrugby@gmail.com. Follow us at rosbiffrugby, pretty much anywhere else. Today, I've been on my own. I've been Richard, but we have again been the Rosbiff Rugby podcast. Big thanks to Alex. Thank you for listening, and see you soon. Au revoir.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We all know that owning a small business means you wear many hats, but sometimes you really need an extra pair of hands. Upwork is how good companies find great and trusted freelance talent. With more than 2 decades of experience, with the simple and ambitious goal of pioneering a better way of working, companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in staffing key projects and initiatives. They access a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web dev, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, and get help drafting a job post or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them and take your business to the next level. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com.